If you've ever played a game for a long amount of time, like since your childhood, then you might know the feeling of shock and awe that comes from finding something in that game that you never knew existed. Maybe that could be a secret room, or a little Easter egg left by the devs, or some completely untold mechanic that makes you wonder why it's even in the game in the first place. Today I'm here to explore that feeling with one of my favorite games of all time, Super Mario Galaxy, which actually has quite a few secrets and obscure mechanics. But which mechanic is the most obscure? I think the first one that a lot of people might think of is the homing ground pound move, which can be performed by doing a ground pound during a mid-air spin. As you can see, it's got this flashy little animation attached to it, and it'll even home in on enemies, which is where it gets its name. It also homes in on NPCs too, which really isn't all that useful, but it is pretty fun. You can even use it to fling yourself over to the Shine Gate in Loop-de-Swoop Galaxy. This mechanic isn't told to the player anywhere in the game, and it's not in the manual either, so it definitely is obscure. But out of all of the hidden mechanics in this game, I think the homing ground pound is probably the most well-known at this point. Just by doing a quick search, you'll be able to see that it's been fully documented online. So, what else is there? Well, here's a good one. If you hold the crouch button while skating, Mario will start skating backwards. There's no real benefit to this, but it looks cool, and you can use it to style in Cosmic Mario if you want. Speaking of Cosmic Mario, if you hold forward at the start of a race, press the crouch button when the countdown reaches 2, and then press the A button at the same time the word GO appears on screen, Mario will turn yellow and get a short speed boost. It's a little tricky to get the timing right, but yeah, this is really in the game, and I'm pretty sure it's a reference to the speed boost you can get at the start of a race in Mario Kart. Weird. But maybe you already knew all that. But did you know that Mario Galaxy has a death counter? It's quite simple to unlock. First, you have to get every star as Mario, then play through the entire game again as Luigi, and then get the final secret star as both characters. Once you do, a little number will be added onto your save file, and this number represents how many times you've died. And finally, if you get 9,999 star bits, all of the coconuts turn into watermelons. They don't do anything different, they just look like watermelons. Why is this in the game? I don't know. So, those are some pretty obscure mechanics, right? I'm sure a lot of you didn't even know they were in the game. But what if I told you there's a mechanic in Mario Galaxy that is so obscure, it's not even listed on the wiki? In fact, I've only found a handful of posts about it online. What is this mystery mechanic? Well, first, let me tell you how I found it. A few years ago, I was playing through the Purple Coin mission on Freeze Flame, just minding my own business, casually going through the game again, like I always do. There's a part in the level where you can find a few coins on top of these pillars in the water, and one of these coins is floating pretty high up in the air, so I got on top of the pillar it was under, went for a backflip, and then... What was that? Why did Mario just jump like that? Okay, yep, there it is again. I'm definitely not imagining it this time. What is going on here? Well, if you let the jump go all the way through, it becomes a lot clearer. It's a dive. Mario has an honest-to-God dive in this game. And it's not exclusive to Freeze Flame Galaxy either. You can do it in just about any level with water in it. Let me explain how it works. First, you have to find a ledge that is at least a few feet above water. If you're too close to the water, then the dive won't activate. Then, get as close to the edge as you can. Once you're able to dive, Mario will start looking down at the water like this, and from there, you can either do a backflip dive into the water, or just a regular forward dive by pressing the jump button. It's a pretty specific setup, so if you're wondering why you've never seen this mechanic before, that's probably why. Honestly, it's so specific that it makes me wonder if it was supposed to be scrapped, but the developers just forgot to take it out. Maybe it's just me, but the whole mechanic feels a bit unpolished. The diving animation is kinda janky looking, and if you land on the ground instead of in the water, Mario will just awkwardly flip back around. But in all actuality, the devs probably just put this in as a little secret, and since they figured most people wouldn't see it, there wasn't a ton of extra work put into it. And they were right. Almost no one knows that this dive mechanic is in the game. All I've seen about it online are a couple of posts and a few YouTube videos that all have less than 1,000 views. Actually, no. There is one YouTube video about this mechanic that has over 100,000 views. But it's a short, so I'm sure about 99% of the people who watched it instantly forgot about it the second they scrolled down to whatever brain rot was next in their feed. Anyways, let's explore some of the possibilities this dive provides to the player. Unfortunately, it's not going to revolutionize how you play the game in any way, but it is pretty fun to find little spots that you can dive off of. And as far as I can tell, there's no limit to how high up you can go. The dive will still work. Or if you're feeling extra rebellious, you can finally ignore all those pesky no diving signs and jump right into some shallow water. I've also got something extra obscure that you can do with the dive. On the Ghost Ship in Deep Dark Galaxy, if you stand right here and do a backflip, Mario will do a dive for some reason instead. I have literally no idea why this happens, but isn't it such a fun, completely useless fact? And finally, for all you freaks out there who like Galaxy 2 more than Galaxy 1, yes, the dive is in that game too. So there it is, Super Mario Galaxy's most obscure mechanic. That's about all I've got to say about the dive, but before I go, I've actually got one more bonus mechanic that I'd like to talk about. You know the hungry Lumas next to each dome in the observatory? They unlock an extra galaxy if you feed them, and these galaxies are accessed via the launch stars that they leave behind. However, you can also use Flying Mario to reach some of these galaxies instead. But the thing is, this is not something the developers intentionally put into the game. It's actually a complete oversight. You see, these green warp things are actually just game objects, and when Mario comes into contact with one of them, it activates a trigger that loads the corresponding galaxy. An invisible sphere surrounding the observatory is meant to keep you from flying to these extra levels yourself, but for whatever reason, the Sweet Sweet Galaxy and the Sand Spiral Galaxy are just barely close enough to the observatory that the player can still reach them. And if you think the developers couldn't possibly have made such a simple mistake, well, they also put two lights inside of each other, so yeah, they really could have. Alright, that's all I've got for this video. I hope you all were able to learn something new. See ya!